Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to New Vegas, where today we're going to be taking a look at the iconic 44 Magnum, a gun that's appeared in almost every single Fallout game so far. And it is the big hand cannon, not the biggest hand cannon in this game, but it's generally one of the big hand cannons of the games. The 44 Magnum I would consider more of a mid-game weapon than anything else, although it can be definitely fine in the late game too. But you're generally going to be finding it towards the mid-game. Sometimes Fiends have this. There are a couple places where you can pick up 44 Magnums that are always guaranteed to spawn. You can buy these off of certain merchants, like the Gunrunners tend to sell them, I think, at every level or at almost every level. So they're not super difficult to find, and they're not super expensive either. For the base stats of the 44 Magnum, this one requires 50 guns and 5 strength to wield. It is, like, dead middle of the pack for everything in terms of stat requirements, so that's perfectly fine. This one does 36 damage a shot, which is fairly high for a handgun. This does 68 damage per second, also pretty high for a handgun. Has 36 crit damage, same as its regular damage, that's pretty normal. Has a 1x crit modifier, nothing really crazy there. Only costs 25 action points to use, making it actually a pretty decent VATS pistol. It's not one of the most crazy VATS pistols, but it's still pretty decent for the damage that you're getting out of it. This one has a 0.7 spread, so it is one of the least accurate handguns in the game. Although if you're going to be only using this at handgun range, that doesn't really matter that much. It's only if you're going to be using this at really long range would that really apply to this. This holds 6 rounds in it, as you would kind of expect for a revolver. Weighs 3.5 weight, so it is a little bit of a hefty handgun compared to others. And this one has the most amount of item health out of the regular gun handguns. This one has 250 item health, which is quite high. That's actually really nice for the 44. Makes it so it doesn't break very quick at all, unless you're going to load in the special rounds. We kind of talked about this with the trail carbine the other day. For the pros of the 44 Magnum, this one does do really high damage. It has really high item HP, so it doesn't break very quick, which is great too, and it has a really good ammo. The 44 rounds aren't super difficult to find. They're not the easiest to find, but they're not the most rare rounds to find either, and it does have some pretty good variations. For the cons of this though, this gun can be a little bit rare or expensive if you're going to try to rush it quickly, but that's maybe not such a huge deal for you, especially if you're going to wait a bit later. And it's also not super accurate. Again, at long range this might matter, at close and medium range this probably isn't going to matter that much. The 44 actually does pretty well across the board at kind of everything. For the ammos you can load into this, you can have the regular 44 rounds. These ones just give you base damage, just like most of the rounds do. You have the special rounds, which these ones break your gun slower, but they also do less damage. They can be kind of nice. You can usually buy these in bulk from vendors. You can buy a couple of them here and there. And the 44 still does enough damage by itself that these aren't going to nerf your damage substantially. You have the hollow point rounds, which can be pretty good. They give you 75% more damage per shot, but they give the enemy 3 times the amount of armor. This is really devastating towards non-armored enemies, less good against heavily armored enemies. It can still be okay, but it's going to be pretty noticeable that you're not breaking through the armor that quickly. And then finally, for the fourth option, you have the semi-wad cutter rounds. These ones you can actually obtain without needing the perk hand loader. If you get the perk hand loader though, you will still get this recipe. But if you don't want to go with that, if you just don't like hand loader for whatever reason, you can actually just run north of New Vegas, talk to a guy up there named Jules, pass a guns check, and then he will give you the recipe and you can make this at any workbench, which is pretty awesome. These give you more damage than the standard 44 rounds. They also punch through 6 armor, which is pretty impressive, but they do break your gun 3 times faster. So if you want to load these into the 44, they are going to be pretty devastating, but they will break the gun very, very quick, which can be kind of annoying. I should also mention that the 44 Magnum and all of its variants, including the modded version and the unique version, all count as improved holdout weapons. So if you have 50 strength, you can sneak any of these into any casino or any holdout area like the fort, which is pretty good. This is probably going to be one of the strongest handguns, at least shot per shot, that you can sneak into anywhere. There are a couple handguns like this, like Lucky or Light Shining in Darkness, Little Devil, at least if you don't have the bugged version of it. Some other guns too, like Sleepy Time. This is one of the better ones that you can sneak in, and it is very devastating, especially if you want to take it in with hollow point rounds, because in almost all of those areas, most enemies don't tend to have much armor, if any armor on, so you can just cut them apart with your 44, which is pretty awesome. For an overall rating for the 44 Magnum, I think I'd put it high B tier. It's pretty good at just kind of everything. It doesn't really suffer from anything. You may not want to use it over something like the trail carbine, which I would consider better than this, since the trail carbine can hold more rounds, it has more health, it has more damage. But if you want a sneak-in version of this, or if you want to take both of them, and that way you can just share the same ammo pool, then you can do that. That's pretty good too. There is a modified version of this, and there is also the unique version. Let's talk about the modified version, because the modified version does change this quite a bit. For the mods that you can get for the 44 Magnum, you can get 2 of these. You can either get a scope or you can get an improved frame, and you can put both these on. The scope is pretty straightforward. It just makes it so now you have a scope on your gun and you can zoom a little bit further. Nothing really crazy there. It's neither a pro nor a con, just depends on how you enjoy using the gun. If you find the iron sights are perfectly fine, then go ahead and use them. If you don't like that, then the scope could be potentially better. It doesn't give you a huge amount of zoom, and again, you're probably not going to be using this at super long range, but it is decent for like medium range if you would like to use it there. The frame is definitely the thing that helps us out even more, because this gives it even more health. It gives you 50% more health to your revolver, and since this already has the highest amount of item health out of any of the handguns in the game, at least normal guns, then this will increase it even further. So you can have a very, very durable gun. Even more so if you want to load special rounds into this, it takes a very long time to break the 44 then. And with the modified version of this, I'd actually move it up a tier. I'd put it up into A tier just because it takes forever to break this thing, and it's just a straight upgrade over the standard gun, at least the frame. Again, the scope, it's kind of take it or leave it depending on what you like. I usually don't have the scope on there because I like the look of it more without the scope, but if you do like the scope, then feel free to throw that one on there. And then there is one unique version of this, which is called the Mysterious Magnum, which is a really cool handgun. This one you can get in a couple different ways, but it is found by the Lonesome Drifter. You can talk to him, and if you're doing a quest called the Talent Pool, then you can get him a job, and with high enough barter, he can give you this handgun. You could also reverse pickpocket him and take this, or you could just flat out kill him and take it off of him too. He's found just south of the 188 trading post, in between Novak and the 188. Should be able to find him there as you're just heading on up to New Vegas. This one looks a little bit different, as well as it has different stats. And this one also has its own unique effect of playing a theme song whenever you pull this gun out and put it away, which is pretty cool. I think that's the main thing that most people like about this gun. This is a reference to the Mysterious Stranger, which is a perk, and it has been a perk in almost every Fallout game too, where in VAT, sometimes the Mysterious Stranger will just show up and gun something down that you're trying to fight. The Mysterious Magnum requires 50 guns as well, but this time it requires 6 strength, so 1 more strength than the standard 44. This does 42 damage per shot, so even more damage. Does 102 damage per second. The Mysterious Magnum shoots significantly faster than the standard 44, which is pretty cool. This one has a 1x crit modifier, which is fine. This one only costs 22 action points, making it even better for a VATS build, which is awesome. This one has better spread at 0.5, which still isn't way great at very long range, but it does help. This one also holds 6 rounds in it. This one weighs 4, so it's half a weight more. And this one does actually have less item health than the regular version of it, which is a little bit unusual. Most of the time, unique weapons have more health. This one has 150 compared to the 250 that the regular 44 does. So this one does break quite a bit faster. Even more so if you want to compare it to the 44 with the improved frame over just the regular Mysterious Magnum, because then the 44 is pushing 370 HP, which is really nice compared to the 150 that you get here. So this one does break a little bit faster. The increased rate of fire is really nice. The extra damage is really good too. The theme song is iconic, and most people really love it for that. You can still sneak this weapon in too, and this one is all around really good too. I'd also put the Mysterious Magnum up into A tier. I don't think I would put it any higher than that. I can understand some people really liking it as their signature weapon though. I really do. It's a really cool gun. Any of the revolvers in this game are really cool. So a very solid all around gun, but I don't necessarily think it's like overpowered or anything. It's just very good. We should also talk about perks that go along with these weapons too. Cowboy is one that will get you 25% more damage with all of these because they count as revolvers, and that just gets you more damage with revolvers and any other cowboy weapon, so that's really nice to have. You can also take the Professional so that you get more crit damage. That one's pretty nice. Aside from that, just about all the other perks that just get you bonus damages would be nice, so Finesse, better crits, Bloody Mess, really whatever you'd like to put on here. Again, hand loader, but hand loader isn't really necessary if you're only going to be using the 44s as your special round, since they are the only round that you can actually get the recipe for. But if you want to take it early on, you absolutely can, because you could always rush to get the Mysterious Magnum if you're okay with killing the Lonesome Drifter or reverse pickpocketing for it. Same goes with just running up and grabbing a 44, since again, there are a couple places that will sell you these or that you can get from various enemies. They're not the most common thing that enemies are going to be carrying around. Sometimes they can be in the DLCs too, like the lobotomites might have them with like hunting rifles and hunting shotguns. And I believe that in like Zion, the White Legs can also carry around these, as well as things like brush guns, anti-material rifles. So you could get lucky and get some 44s there. In conclusion, would I recommend the 44 Magnum? Sure. If you're going to go with a handgun build, it's a pretty solid handgun. If you're going with a guns build, it's pretty good. And if you're not going with a guns build, it's still not bad, because it still has enough damage and it is still a holdout weapon. So if you want to take something like this into a casino, let's say you're doing an explosives build, you could sneak a 44 in and that would be perfectly fine. Tell me your thoughts on the 44 Magnum and the Mysterious Magnum. This one was asked quite a bit, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody!